Hey everyone, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Justin, and you're watching another episode of Leafs in 7, where we talk about the last 7 days of Leafs hockey and Leafs news in roughly 7 minutes. The Toronto Maple Leafs last week had 2 games, both against the New Jersey Devils. I predicted that they would go 1-1, and boy, did they look like they were going to start off with a loss in that first game. On Monday, the Leafs started probably the worst that I've seen the Leafs play in years. And I know that they've had some really bad games in that stretch. That just goes to show how bad they started this game. Turnovers by the forwards at the blue line, passes just nowhere near the players and the targets. Terrible defense. Jack Campbell couldn't save us. And I mean, you got to stop expecting him to when you're giving them that good chances. They looked awful. And yet the Leafs come back. I mean, New Jersey's not overly great of a team, and they took advantage of it, winning 6-4, and then they come back the next night against New Jersey once again, and this game, there was no contest whatsoever. It was just the Leafs dominated from the start. It looked like New Jersey didn't care to even try to come back. A 7-1 win, 2-0 against New Jersey in the week. Mitch Marner does score in both of these 2 games, continuing an absolute tear of a streak where ever since coming back from injury, I believe in 7 games, he's got 8 goals, 8 assists, 16 points. He's just absolutely on a tear, and a lot of conversation right now about JT and Willie kind of taking a step back, not being as noticeable, not just on the score sheet, but also just in their play. Can they pick it up a little bit? Well, fortunately for us, you know, while those 2 guys are down, Matthews and Marner and Bunting are all red hot. If those guys slow down, hopefully Nylander and Tavares can pick us up. It's nice to have that kind of depth where you know that if one of your lines isn't scoring, another one will be. After those 2 games against New Jersey, we went into the AllStar Break, where on Friday we had the skills competition, and on Saturday we had the little mini tournament for the AllStar game. I made a video last week about my opinions on the All-Star game. I don't love the format. A lot of things had a lot of flaws about this. I did actually end up watching both events. I watched the full skills competition, tuned into some of the All-Star game. In all, I thought it was pretty decent. I was entertained enough to not absolutely hate the event like I have in the past, but there were a lot of moments where I just thought that this could be just dramatically improved. The 32 team representation, I mean, some of those guys just had absolutely no business being there. Once again, like usual, the players didn't try in the All-Star game or the skills competition. It needs a lot of work, but I'm happy to say that, you know what, it wasn't terrible. I thought it was going to be terrible. It wasn't terrible. I kind of enjoyed some of it. Some of it, again, I just thought that, it drives me nuts, but it is what it is. Jack Campbell, along with Vasilevsky, they win their event in the shutout streak. Austin Matthews gets 21 in the blackjack game, but ultimately loses to Joe Pavelski. I hope those 2 had fun. It looked like they did from the behind-the-scenes little bits that we were able to see. And great representation there, great showing. I wish that we had some more Leafs represented there. I thought Tavares, Marner, Nylander, they all deserved a spot as well. To close out the week, we did get some final news because Kyle Dubas did have immediate availability at kind of like the halfway mark of the season. Spoke a little bit about what he's like so far about the season, but was asked a little bit about what his approach to the trade deadline is. As usual, he explains that the interest is in someone that has term left on their deal instead of just going for rental players, which they opted to do last season with the likes of a Nick Foligno, which ultimately did not work out. In hindsight, that is. I thought it was a good trade at the time. This year, maybe Kyle Dubas is looking to acquire some players with term, but he also states that these are things that we're going to have to really decide way closer to the trade deadline on March 21st. It's far too early. You would think that the main focus for him would be the defensive group as of right now, because it looks like the biggest area of flaw with the biggest holes. But we have to reflect as well the last couple of years in the playoffs. What is it that the Leafs have failed to do to win? That's score. The offense has dried up. I know that this year we have a lot more depth on the offensive end. I don't have as much fear that we won't be able to get any goals, but you have to keep in mind, I mean, that was something that plagued us last season, the season before against Columbus. Is it really smart to just focus on defense and not improve the offense? Who knows? And that's why Kyle Dubas is just going to take some time to really analyze this team and see where the biggest area of need is. And last part of that press conference, he did mention that Jake Muzzin, after getting a concussion a few weeks ago, is getting close to returning to the lineup. He was in practice. It's looking optimistic. I don't think he'll be playing tonight against Carolina, but he will be coming back to the lineup soon, which will add some depth. Hopefully he can get some chemistry back with Justin Holl, because Holl's been playing a lot better recently. So hopefully when Muzzin comes back, those two can get back to where they were last year, and you get Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren along with Travis Dermott rounding out the final bit of the defensive pairings. Looking forward to this week. We are getting into a very, very crowded month of February because all the rescheduled games were rescheduled to this time because of the Olympic break. So we've got 3 games this week. We've got Carolina, Calgary, Vancouver. I think the Leafs will go 2-1 this week. Calgary and Carolina are 2 very, very tough opponents. Calgary, for some reason, doesn't let in any goals this year. Markstrom's just getting shutouts left, right, and center. And Carolina's a very, very, very strong, deep team on the offensive front, defensive, and obviously Freddie Anderson is doing tremendously well. But I think that the Leafs will pull out the win in one of those 2 games. I think Vancouver is an easy win for the Leafs, hopefully. I mean, knock on wood. But I think there's a little bit more emphasis for the Leafs to play well against Carolina tonight, because earlier this season when they were struggling and went 2-4-1 to start the season, they went up against Carolina in a bad space of mind, ended up losing that game. But Matthews obviously got his goal against Freddie Anderson. He loves doing that. I would expect more of that tonight. So there it is. That is Leafs in 7, talking about the last 7 days in Leafs hockey. What did you like? Did you like the All-Star game? Did you like the games against New Jersey? What do you think will happen in this week coming up? If you do like this content, click like, click subscribe. We're almost at 250 subscribers. I would really appreciate it if we got there. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next one.